Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome into The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I'm your host, Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting for Touchdown, Alabama. Thank you guys so much for joining me again on our YouTube channel. Hit the like button for me. Hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. If you are one of our loyal subscribers, be sure to hit that notification bell so you can be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. We're back rolling on The Process. We have a lot to get to as a Crimson Tide's coaching staff wanted to be a cold summer on the trail for the Crimson Tide. Kind of a bit of a weird way of thinking, because I'm pretty sure their goal is to heat up on the recruiting trail, but that is their slogan for this summer. They want it to be a cold summer, I guess, for the competition, because it looks as if they're going to go after some of the top prospects in the 2025 recruiting class, get those guys on campus for official visits, and hopefully make a statement with the first recruiting class of the Jalen Milroe era. And you know you can't have a complete recruiting class without having a top quarterback. Of course, the Crimson Tide do not have a quarterback committed at the moment, but they want to add one to this particular recruiting class. And one of the top targets who's starting to emerge is 2025 four-star quarterback Jalen Russell out of Duncanville High School in Texas. He's currently committed to SMU, but the Crimson Tide are making quite the push for the Texas product. I will talk about Russell on this episode. Also talk about a speedy, explosive four-star defensive back out of Phoenix, Arizona, who recently picked up an offer from the Crimson Tide. He's set to make his way to Tuscaloosa pretty soon as well. I will then turn my attention to a couple of other 2025 targets who the Crimson Tide have established a little bit more of a relationship with when we talk about guys like Travis Smith Jr., who has set a commitment date for July. I'll also talk about Jordan Davison, who has locked in an official visit with the Crimson Tide for this summer. We take a look at Davison, one of the top running backs in the country out of Mater Dei High School in California. But we're going to start things off today by talking about Jalen Russell. Like I said, he's a 2025 four-star quarterback out of Duncanville High School in Texas, one of the top signal callers in this particular recruiting class. Throw for more than 30 touchdowns, more than 3,000 yards as a junior, leading Duncanville High School to a state championship. He's a guy who only threw 3 interceptions during that season, so he's a guy who can protect the football as well. But he's a guy who has some similarities to the Crimson Tide's quarterback Jalen Milroe. Not really because of their games in terms of the way that they play, because I think they have a kind of two different playing styles a little bit, but more so because they are guys who are from Texas, and he also happened to share the same trainer, the same quarterback trainer, a guy who has trained some of the top quarterbacks to come through college football, guys who went on to play in the NFL. He's a guy who has trained both Milroe and Russell. I'm talking about Brad Stanfield, a guy who trains a lot of prospects throughout the country, specifically in Texas, with them developing 2 Texas quarterbacks in guys like Milroe and also guys like Russell. In terms of what Stanfield had to say about Russell, I'm going to read the quotes because they were really, really interesting. He's high on Russell for several different reasons. Probably the most powerful quote that he told me was that he feels that Russell can flat out be better than Jalen Milroe just based on his potential and how great he could be. We also know how great Jalen Milroe could be. I'm one of those guys who have gone on record and said once Jalen Milroe continues to get more confident, continues to grow as a passer, he's going to be unstoppable. He's going to be special. He's a guy who could really be a dominant quarterback, not only at the college football level, but in the NFL once he continues to grow, as a passer, which you saw strides towards the end of last season as he continued to grow and continue to mature throughout the 2023 football season. But Stanfield, who has trained Milroe since he was in middle school, has trained Russell for several years as well. He feels that Russell can be better than Jalen Milroe. Just to dive deeper into his quote, he said, when you look at him, meet him, and then you see his skill set, you're just thinking, if this kid is everything that I'm seeing in front of my face, this kid's got a chance to be really freaking good. When it comes to his skill set, I put this kid through a bunch of NFL stuff, and he picked it up pretty much that day. It was pretty impressive, and so to watch him be able to do and did not overthink but do what you ask him right away is super impressive. There's nothing I don't think the kid can't do. So That is high praise from Stanfield, who has worked with so many great quarterbacks in the past, like I said, including Milroe and some other guys who have went on to play at Texas and different schools throughout the country. So the Crimson Tide are targeting Keelan Russell, along with SMU, who is currently committed to, along with Ole Miss, a program who likes to go after talented, athletic quarterbacks with Lane Kiffin as their head coach, so we all know that. So Russell will get on the University of Alabama for an official visit on next weekend, the weekend of May 31st. He actually picked up that offer from the Crimson Tide in April, and it looks like he could be arguably the Crimson Tide's top 2025 quarterback target. When you watch his films, you guys are watching right now, you're talking about, like I said, an athletic guy who can run when he needs to, but he's a guy who shows off great accuracy down the football field. You see him when he didn't pressure, keep his eyes downfield. You see him throw some great passes even when he is getting hit as well. So I think he's a guy who has a lot of potential as a signal caller. When I'm evaluating quarterbacks, I always say, and I think Stanfield said this as well when I was talking to him, it's all about consistency with quarterbacks. Of course, when you get to the next level and guys who are getting evaluated to go to the next level at that signal caller position, at the quarterback position, it's not always about being the most consistent. It's about being able to make those throws. If you're going to play college football, it's most likely that you can make all of those throws, but can you make all of those throws at all times? Can you be consistent? Can you make it when you're getting pressure? Can you make it when it's crunch time, when the game is on the line? Can you consistently make those plays? That is what separates a good quarterback from a great quarterback at every single level of football. And I think Russell is a guy who Stanfield feels could do that as he continues to grow, continues to mature as a quarterback. He feels there's not just one single thing he just needs to get better at in terms of Russell. He just needs to continue to get better overall and just continue to experience more football, and he's just going to get better. So Russell, like I said, we will officially visit the Crimson Tide next weekend, on the weekend of May 31st. Is committed to SMU, but the Crimson Tide looks as if they're going to give him a lot to think about over the next couple of months, several months probably, because of course he doesn't have to sign a national letter of intent technically to February, but most guys, as you guys know, in today's era of college football and recruiting, they like to sign in December. So we'll see where Russell will do, but the Crimson Tide are targeting the 4-star quarterback out of Texas. Another guy I want to talk about is a 4-star defensive back out of Arizona who the Crimson Tide recently offered. They offered him on last week. I'm talking about Dillard-Allen out of Phoenix, Arizona, an explosive track runner and football player. He reportedly runs a 4.29. That's what he has in his Twitter bio. Has a 10.86 100-meter dash as well. Of course, everybody wants to make sure that 40 time is legitimate, but if you run a 10.86 100-meter dash, you're a different type of fast already. And if he can get to 4.344, that's usually what that translates to if you are running a 10.86 in the 100-meter dash. And this speed translates over to the football field on the defensive side of football. It's based on how fast and quickly this guy gets back to the football and make plays, whether it is to make a big hit or just make a play on the football. This guy will finish his 2023 football season with 40 tackles. I think he had 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles as well. Like I said, runs that 10.8 100-meter dash, and that type of speed shows up when you watch his film. Picked up that offer from the Crimson Tide, has already locked in an official visit with Alabama. He will be in Tuscaloosa on the weekend of June 7th. The Crimson Tide's defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach Colin Hischler went out to Arizona, offered Dillard-Allen. He had a lot of good things to say about the Crimson Tide pertaining to offers. He told me this is one of those offers you dream about as a kid. And talking about Kalen DeBoer, he said he's a big believer in DeBoer. He feels DeBoer will keep the Crimson Tide rolling on the football field. And we all know the success that Alabama has enjoyed over the last couple of decades under Nick Saban. So Dillard-Allen is a guy who's really impressed with DeBoer, and he thinks he's going to do good things in Tuscaloosa. Dillard-Allen actually recently decommitted from Arizona State, reopened his recruitment. So Alabama's just one of those schools he's involved with, also involved with UCLA. I think he released that he's scheduled an official visit with them on today, and several other schools are going to be involved with Dillard-Allen. But at the moment, the Crimson Tide looks as if they are in a good position with them, at least early on, because this is one of those guys, unlike the next 2 guys I will talk about, this is one of those guys they are just getting a chance to know, just getting an opportunity to learn more about. So getting him on campus is going to be huge. Staying in contact with them is going to be huge. We'll see how that plays out for the Crimson Tide as they continue to try to add defensive talent in this 2025 recruiting class. Now we're going to go to the offensive side of the football and talk about two targets who the Crimson Tide have been recruiting for quite some time. This new staff has been recruiting these guys basically ever since they got the job and who made their way to Tuscaloosa. The first guy I want to start with is Jordan Davison, a 2025 four-star running back out of Mater Dei High School in California. He's a Crimson Tide target who has had a lengthy relationship with the Crimson Tide's running back coach Robert Gillespie. Has said that is one of the reasons why the Crimson Tide are still heavily involved with this recruitment, with the fact that they help keep Gillespie employed, of course, by keeping him on their staff as their running backs coach and as one of their better recruiters, not only as a running back coach, but also at other positions when he's called upon to do that within different states across the country, including the state of Florida and just some of those down south schools that he's had an opportunity to recruit. So Gillespie has a lot of recruiting experience, and Jordan Davison is just impressed with them. Actually, Gillespie FaceTime called Jordan Davison when Alabama was playing in the Rose Bowl against Michigan, so their relationship is a lengthy one. So keeping him around is definitely one of the reasons why a guy like Jordan Davis is still interested in the Crimson Tide, with all the different coaching changes and all the different things that have happened in Tuscaloosa over the last couple of months. But he has locked in an official visit with the Crimson Tide, will actually be in Tuscaloosa on the same weekend that Keelan Russell will be in Tuscaloosa. Those two pair of guys will officially visit Alabama on the weekend of May 31st. And the Crimson Tide will have a big official visitor list for most of this summer, because if you guys don't know, there's no longer a cap on official visits. In the past, you could only take 5 official visits to the schools that you were interested in, and that was it. So basically, recruits would pick their top 5 schools that they are most interested in, the schools that are most interested in them, and take those 5 official visits. But now I think if you are even a little bit interested in this school is interested in you a lot, I think you want to take your official visit to take advantage of that opportunity to learn more about that school and get that feel. I think official visits are fun just based on the way recruits explain them to me. So I'm pretty sure recruits are going to try to take advantage of that. And just looking at the amount of recruits Alabama has locked in for official visits seem to be like a increase, because like I said, there's no cap on it. You can take as many official visits as you want. One to each school, I'm pretty sure that's still intact, but you can take as many as you want to any particular school. So the Crimson Tide are going to get Davison on campus. They actually got him on campus a couple months ago in March. He left feeling like a priority after talking with Kalen DeBoer, after talking with Ryan Williams, of course, who's originally a 2025 recruit, knows a lot of these 2025 prospects. So that is something I would say just keep it in the back of your mind. I think Williams is going to be valuable on the recruiting trail for the Crimson Tide, because he is originally a 2025 recruit. So he has a lot of relationships with the guys who are technically in his original class. Now that he has reclassified to the 2024 recruiting class and now is a freshman at the University of Alabama. But Davison said he felt he left Tuscaloosa feeling like he was a top guy at the running back position. So they made him feel really good, made him feel like a priority when he was in Tuscaloosa. So we'll see how things go on May 31st. He's down to 4 programs at the moment. The Crimson Tide, of course, are listed in Jordan Davis's top 4 as he heads towards the summer, take official visits. A lot of guys, when they line up those official visits, get down to 4 or 5, 4, 3 schools. The next logical step usually in their recruitment is to release a commitment date or commit after they visit those schools. I think that could be on the table. That's something that you just got to keep in the front of your mind when it comes to Jordan Davison, with them having that top 4, with them officially visiting those schools coming up. When you look at his recruitment, when you look at those 4 schools that he's going to consider moving forward in his 2025 recruiting cycle, he's going to look at Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, and Michigan. So we'll see what happens with Davison. The last guy I want to talk about today is Travis Smith Jr., a 2025 4-star wide receiver out of Westlake High School in Georgia, a 6'4" bigger wide receiver. We had an opportunity to see him perform at the Under Armour Next camp in Atlanta a couple of months ago, and he was really impressive. Despite being 6'4", you see that he can run routes. He can stop at a dime, get back to the football. Saw him run different routes. Saw him look really good in a one-on-one session. He was just impressive throughout that day. So he's one of the top wide receivers in his 2025 recruiting class. The Crimson Tide offered him in around January, February. I can't remember the exact date out of the top of my head, but I know it was really close to when that new staff came in. He actually spent a lot of time with Jamarcus Shepard on that first visit when they offered him. He was just impressed with Shepard's knowledge of the game and what he had to say. He was just really excited to see what Alabama was going to look like in the future under the board. And he's the guy who actually wants to commit before his senior season on July 13th. We'll take official visits to several schools this summer before he officially announces that commitment date in July. Of course, the Crimson Tide will get him on campus for an official visit before he announces that day. The Tide will get him on campus for an official visit in June before on July 7th. Of course, we will see what he will choose. He most likely will choose between Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, and Tennessee as the Crimson Tide continue to make a push for the 4-star wide receiver who is really impressive. Bigger guy, physical wide receiver, but he's also a guy who can create separation with his route running ability. I think it's a high ceiling for Travis Smith, and I think Jamarcus Shepard likes those big wide receivers too. I think he likes a variety of different type of wide receivers, and I think we saw that when Washington went on to play for a national championship against Michigan. Just watching Washington throughout that year, the amount of talent that he had at wide receiver, I think those guys had a couple of different styles. I think Jeremy Bernard, who's with Alabama at the moment, kind of really personifies that when you look at his game compared to a guy like Rome and Aduzier. So those are the 4 guys I want to talk about on this episode of The Process. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We have a lot coming throughout the next couple of days, weeks, just a lot coming on our YouTube channel, a lot of content on our website as well, including an exclusive interview with the Crimson Tide's 4-star wide receiver Isaiah Brooks, head coach out of Millville High School, breaking down Isaiah Brooks, a fast, speedy, explosive wide receiver. Be sure to check out that feature. Also, be sure to check out that full feature on Keelan Russell. Had an opportunity, like I said earlier in the show, to talk with Stanfield and talk about what makes Russell good. Like I said, he said he feels that Russell could possibly be better than Milroe in the future. He dives much deeper into that in the article, so be sure to check that out over at touchdownalabama.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me on our YouTube channel. Be sure to download our app. It is located in the Apple App Store as well as the Google Play Store. Head over to touchdownalabama.com. Pick up your subscription today. TDA Plus is coming. It's going to have a lot of great content for you guys, so be sure to lock in and subscribe to touchdownalabama.com. As well as always, I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting for Touchdown Alabama.
Process.